then we need to send. Sending email is a very common requirement in every web application. Spring Boot also provided support in order to send the emails in our application. So in the Spring Boot, to send the emails, we are having mail starter. By using mail starter, we can send the emails. That mail starter we added in the pom.xml. And to work with the email sending, we need to configure SMTP properties in our application.properties file. SMTP host, SMTP port, username, password, authentication, start TTLS. These properties we need to configure. You can give your Gmail and you need to generate the app password. Don't give your login password. Your login password will not work. You need to configure your app password here. Then after this, there is a predefined component in the mail starter, that is a Java mail sender. By using that Java mail sender, we can send the emails in our application. That Java mail sender is having send method. That send method will take two parameters, guys. One is simple mail message, another one is a MIME message. Simple mail message is used to send plain text in the email body. If you want to send an email with some attachment, with some formatted text, then it is recommended to go for MIME message. Okay, so it is always recommended to use MIME message to send the emails. Then we are able to send attachment also by using MIME message. If you want to send attachment by using MIME message, for the MIME message helper, we need to set the option as true. If your text contains text nothing but body, if it contains some HTML tags, we need to go for true option. Okay, so we are able to send the emails by using our application. And yesterday we have seen the project that we have implemented. What is the architecture of the project? So we have taken student.java, that is an entity class. What is the purpose of entity, guys? The Java class, which is mapped to the database table, is called as entity class. Then we are having a repository also. What is the purpose of repository? To perform the CRUD operation. Service is available, which will contain our business methods. Then we are having service IMPL, implementation is available. Email service is also available to send the email. Controller is available to handle the request and response. How to represent Java class as a controller? By using controller annotation, we can represent our Java class as a controller class. Inside the controller, we can write multiple methods. Get request method is available and post request method is also available in our controller. Then we have seen the architecture of the project also, whatever that we developed in the last session. So this is the overall architecture of the project that we have implemented. Okay, controller is available, service available, service IMPL. Our service IMPL will communicate with the repository. Repository extending the properties from JPA repository. Email service is available. Email service will communicate with the Java mail sender. That Java mail sender is going to communicate with the SMTP. Okay, SMTP is going to play very important role when we are developing email sending functionality. So whatever the Java mail sender we are using, that Java mail sender will communicate with the SMTP server. Which SMTP server we are using? Gmail SMTP server we are using. So for our testing purpose, for our practice purpose, we are using Gmail SMTP. But in the real time, company SMTP server will be provided for us. Company will give the SMTP details. By using that, we can send the emails. So basically, they will give you SMTP host, SMTP port, SMTP username, SMTP password. So by using them, you can send the emails in the project. Is it clear? Right. Everybody able to develop this application? Able to develop this application? Perfect. Yeah. Two SMTPs. Yes, we can configure. Yes, we can. Right. Next one. Today, we are going to understand how to implement exception handling in the web application. Right. We already know what is exception in the Java. Right. So there are several exceptions available in the Java. And whenever our program is executing, there is a chance of getting the exception. So what is the meaning of exception, guys? What is the meaning of exception? Unexpected, and unwanted situation. Unexpected, unwanted situation in program execution. In program execution is called as exception. Exception nothing but unexpected, unwanted situation that will occur when our program is executing. Whenever exception occurs, what will happen? When exception occurs, our program will be terminated abnormally. Our program will be terminated abnormally whenever some exception occurs. So here, as a programmer, we need to achieve. As a programmer, we need to handle that exception. We need to handle that exception and we need to achieve graceful termination. Okay, we should not stop our program in the middle. We need to give, whenever some problem occurred, we need to give some conclusion for the problem. So I'm executing some program. In that program, some problem occurred. That is called exception. Whenever exception occurs, our program will be terminated abnormally. Program will be stopped in the middle. We should not stop our program in the middle. We need to achieve some graceful termination. Okay. So for that, we need to handle the exception. The process of handling the exception is called as exception handling. Okay. The process of handling exception is called as exception handling. The process of handling the exception is called as exception handling. To handle the exceptions, in Java, we have several keywords, right? In Java, we have below keywords to handle exceptions. What are the keywords available? Come on. Try is available, catch available, throw is available, throws available, finally is available. So like this, there are several predefined keywords available in the Java. By using these keywords, we can handle exceptions that are occurring in our application. Now, coming to web application. We are developing a web application by using Spring Web MVC. When we are running the web application or when we are accessing the web application, there is a chance of getting the exception. So what will happen when exception occurs? Then how to handle that exception in the Spring Web MVC? That is our topic for today. Are you clear? What is our agenda today? Exception handling in Spring Web MVC. We are developing a web application by using Web MVC. When the web application is running, there is a chance of getting some exception. When exception occurs, what will happen and how to handle that exception? Right. Come on. Can you tell me what is exception, guys? Unexpected and unwanted situation in the program execution is called as exception. Unexpected, unwanted situation in the program execution is called as exception. What will happen when exception occurs? When exception occurs, our program will be terminated abnormally. That means it will stop in the middle. Program will be stopped in the middle. That is called abnormal termination. As a programmer, we need to handle that exception. We need to achieve graceful termination. That means my program should not stop in the middle. I want to give some conclusion for the user when exception occurs. You are doing some bank transaction. Suppose in the middle some problem occurred. Bank should tell you some problem occurred. We will send your money back to your account after 24 hours. They will give some meaningful message for you. After exception occur, some other logic will execute to give some confirmation about the problem. So that is called graceful termination. In order to achieve graceful termination, we need to handle that exception. So in the Java, very good mechanism is available to handle the exceptions. Java language provided several keywords to handle the exception. What are those keywords here? Try, catch, throw, throws, finally. Like that, there are several keywords available in the Java. By using those keywords, we can handle the exception. What are the keywords available, guys? Try available, catch available, throw, throws, finally. Like that, there are several keywords available to handle the exception. Now, I'm going to create one web application by using Spring Boot. Okay. So I have created one web application by using Spring Boot. You can see the pom.xml, my project pom.xml, Spring Boot version 3.3.2, and here TimeLeaf dependency available. I'm using TimeLeaf as a presentation technology, and I'm using WebStarter to develop a web application. Dev tools available to restart the server when there is a code change. Test is available to perform unit testing of our application. All right. Now go here. Start class is there. Application.java. Then you can run this application. Right click, run as Java application. Spring Boot application will start from the main method, whether it is a normal project or whether it is a web project. It will start from main method. When this application is started, as there is a web starter, we are going to get Tomcat as a default container. We are going to get the Tomcat as a default container. So now see here, Tomcat server started with the port number 88. Tomcat server started with the port number 88. All right. So now I want to develop one controller in my project. I want to send a request to the controller. I want to get the response from the controller. So right click, new class. So let me create a class with a name called message controller. Package name is very important. Today morning in the project class, one person is saying a problem. What is the problem? Package name is not correct. Base package name is not correct. Okay. So my start class is available in in.ashokite. My controller is available in a base package. All right. Now, how to represent this as a Spring controller? How to represent this as a Spring controller? We are using a annotation called @controller annotation. @controller annotation. Let me write one method, public string get welcome message. Get welcome message. So return index. So I want to return a page which is index. All right. Now, so this is the method. I want to map it to a request. How to map it to a request? @get mapping. The URL pattern /welcome. So with this, it is going to return index page for us. I want to send some data from the controller to UI. How to send the data from controller to UI? Post method. What is required? Model. Can I take model object as a parameter? Yes, Spring model, guys. When you are importing model package, make sure you are using the correct package from the Spring framework. The model is available in another package also, which is logback package available. Don't take the logback model. You need to take the Spring model, right? What is the purpose of this model here? What is the purpose of this model? It is used to send the data from controller to UI in the form of key and value. How to set the data in the form of key and value? Model dot add attribute key and value. Key is string. Value can be anything. Value can be anything. You can send a string data. You can send one object data. You can send a list of objects also. In the previous project, I sent a list of students. We are able to display them in the UI. Now I am sending a message. Welcome to Ashokite. All right. So with this, I am returning index page. Okay. So we need to create a template with a name called index. Okay. Go here. Where to create the templates? Where to create the templates? Templates folder. New file. The file name index.html. Click on finish. So I'm creating one HTML page here. So inside this HTML, I want to add the bootstrap for the styles. How to add the bootstrap in the HTML? Go to a website. What is that? Getbootstrap.com. Go to a website, getbootstrap.com. Go to docs. So this is normal HTML without bootstrap. This is the HTML with bootstrap. Okay. Take this HTML and keep it in our index.html. Bootstrap is available. So in the bootstrap, to write a message, to display anything, go for container. Create a container div. Why we need to go for container div? Margins will be available for the web page. Okay, let me go for div class is equal to container. That is a predefined CSS class, guys. Okay, now I want to access my message. Paragraph th colon text. What is the key I am sending? Message. Take this message and display that message by using $of message. $of message. What is the meaning of $of message? Get the value belongs to that key. Get the value which is belongs to that key. Right. Message controller is ready and we are able to take the model as a parameter. That model is used to send the data from controller to UI. Okay, good. Next up, let us go here, refresh, right click, run as Java application. Okay, it will start from the main method. Start class will be executed. Application.java. Yes, my start class will be executed here. Application is getting started. Then go to browser and let us access our web page. Application started. You can see the console. Can I say these all are log messages of the Spring Boot? Yes. Tomcat server started with port number 8080. So go here, localhost colon 8080/welcome. Right. Am I able to get that message now? Welcome to Ashok IT. I'm getting that message. All right. Fine. Suppose in this method, if I have some problem, right? Problem in the sense, integer I is equal to 10 by 0. What is the meaning of 10 by 0? Systematic exception. So when my program is executing, assume that I'm doing some calculation by mistake. I'm dividing a number with the 0. When you divide any number with the 0, then you are going to get the exception. So now let's observe. What will happen when exception occurs in our method? What will happen when exception occurs in our method? Right click, run as Java application. If there is no exception, my page is loaded as expected. Message also rendered as expected. Now, let's take a negative scenario. Now, let me send a request again. Now, I have sent a request. What happened? I sent a request for my method /welcome. /welcome URL is mapped to this method get welcome message. In this, I'm using integer I is equal to 10 by 0. Arithmetic exception. When arithmetic exception occurred, my program terminated abnormally and I'm getting white label error page. So this is because of arithmetic exception dividing by 0. So exception stack trace is coming. This is called exception stack trace. What is the problem? The problem is displaying in the browser. This is the class name. This is the line number. This is the method. This is the class. This is the line number. There is a arithmetic exception. You are dividing a number with 0. That is a problem. So this problem is displaying to the end user. If end user see this error, if end user see this exception, can they understand? They will get surprised. Array, what is happening in the project? If you display this kind of error page to the client, clients are nothing but non-technical people. They don't know what is Java. They don't know what is Spring Boot. They don't know what is 500. Okay? They don't know what is this arithmetic exception. As a programmer, we know, but clients don't know. Clients don't know what is this problem. It is not at all recommended to display this kind of error pages to the client. So in my project, some problem occurred. That problem is displaying on the web page directly. That is not recommended. So this is abnormal termination. Problem occurred. Then abnormally my program terminated. That is fine. But it is displaying the error details to the client. Exception details to the client. Exception stack trace displaying on the web page. Clients cannot understand this message. Whatever is displaying, clients cannot understand. We need to give some meaningful message to the client. We need to give some meaningful message to the client. So we need to handle this problem. We need to handle this problem. To handle this problem in the Spring Web MVC, we can handle exceptions in the Spring Web MVC in two ways, guys. In Spring Web MVC, we can handle exceptions in two ways. Okay. In Spring Web MVC, we can handle exceptions in two ways. What are the two ways? One is controller-based handling. One is controller-based handling. Second one is global handling. So Web MVC application we develop, we are accessing. There is a problem. Now we need to handle that problem. So to handle that exception in the Web MVC, there are two approaches available. What are those two approaches? One is controller-based exception handling. Second one is global exception handling. One is called controller-based exception handling. Second one is called global exception handling. Are you able to follow me? Now, sir, what is the meaning of controller-based handling? Controller-based handling, it is used to handle the exception belongs to particular controller. If you want to handle the exceptions of only one class, then you need to go for controller-based handling. If you want to handle exceptions in all the classes available in the application, then you need to go for global handling. Are you able to follow me? So what is the difference between controller handling and global handling? If you want to handle the exception only in one class, then you will go for controller-based handling. If you want to handle the exceptions in all the classes in the entire project, then you need to go for global handling. Are you clear? Now, so let me go for controller-based handling. Message controller is available. So to handle exception in the controller handling, I will write one method. Public string handle exception. Okay, I'm taking exception E. Whenever exception occurred, then I want to return one page called error page. I want to return a page called error.page. Here, I will take a logger. You know logging, right? Log4j we attended. Tool we attended. What is log4j? To implement logging in our application. So I'm going to take a logger. Okay. Logger from which package? SLF4j. Logger is equal to get logger. Logger factory dot get logger message controller dot class. So for this message controller, I'm taking logger object. Okay. For the message controller, I'm taking the logger object. Now I am going to write logger dot error. Logger dot error e dot get message. Logger dot error e dot get message. I want to generate the log message. The log message should go to a log file or you can print on the console. Now, when this method should be executed, guys? Whenever exception occurred. If there is no exception, this method should not be executed. If the exception occurred, then only this method should be executed. For this, we will write one annotation which is @exception handler. There is an annotation called exception handler. So @exception handler value is equal to exception dot class. Value is equal to exception dot class. So in this controller, in this message controller, when there is an exception, it can be any type of exception. It can be arithmetic, it can be null pointer, whatever the exception occurs in this class, then this method is responsible to handle that exception. @exception handler value is equal to exception dot class. So I'm taking exception object as a parameter, logger.error, e.getMessage, return error page. So whenever exception occurred in the message controller, I want to display error page. I want to display error page. Now create that error page here, new file, that is error page.html. Error page.html. Want to add bootstrap for the error page also. How to add the bootstrap? Come on. Go to bootstrap.com. Then take this. Okay. Add it. Now I want to give you a container. How to give you a container? Div class is equal to container. Div class is equal to container. So I will display a message. Some problem occurred. Some problem occurred. Please try again. Some problem occurred. Please try again. I want to display this message to the user whenever there is a problem in our application. Okay. So error page I am displaying. Now, so look at the controller. There is a method 10 by 0. Okay. Then let me take one more method which is called greet method. Okay. It is going to give you greet message. When I'm going for a greet message, I'm giving the message as good morning. I'm giving the message as good morning. In this greet method, there is no problem. Okay. If there is no problem, index page should be loaded. If there is a problem, error page should be loaded. What will happen when exception occur? What will happen when there is no exception? We want to test with both methods. One is with the welcome method, another one is with the greet method. Look at the controller, message controller. What is the meaning of controller? What is the meaning of controller? The Java class which is responsible to take the request and send the response. Request handler. Controller classes are also called as request handler classes. They are responsible to handle the request coming from the client. Whatever the operation client is performing, somebody should handle that request. That's where controller will come into picture. Inside this controller, I'm taking logger object. What is the purpose of this logger object, guys? What is the purpose of this logger object? What is the purpose of this logger? To generate the log messages. Why we need logging in a project? To understand runtime behavior of the application. Logging is required to understand runtime behavior of the application. We are having get mapping. We are having a get mapping. Get to welcome message is available, which is going to use model object, right? Slash welcome. Then index page. Greet method. Return index page. Key is the same. Value is different. So it will display welcome to Ashok IT. It will display good morning. Now, there is a method available which is exception handler. What is the purpose of this exception handler? What is the purpose of this exception handler method? What is the purpose of this exception handler method? Come on. Whenever a problem occurs in the controller, then this method should be executed. What this method is going to do? Return error page. Return error page. Inside the error page, what I am doing? I am giving a meaningful message to the client. Earlier, exception page displayed for the client directly. Now I don't want to display exception page like this. I want to display meaningful message to the client when there is a problem. That is called graceful termination. Graceful termination. Now, let us start our application now. Go to the project, application, right click, run as Java application. I'm running my Spring Boot project now. Go to console, check this. Application is getting started. Tomcat server started with the port number 8080. Clear that console. Okay. Then next, go to browser. Then first, greet. There is no error. Localhost colon 8080/greet. What is happening now? It is working as expected. There is no problem. Index page is loaded. Now go to /welcome. What is happening now? Error page is coming. When there is no error, then the index page is loaded. When there is an error, error page is loaded. So for the client, exception is displaying for the client or exception not displaying for the client? Exception displaying to the client or not displaying to the client? Not displaying. Meaningful message displaying to the client. If I don't handle this exception, then exception will be displayed to the client. Is it recommended to display exception to the client? Recommended or not recommended? It is not recommended to display exception to the client. So with this, we are able to handle exception in our application. How we handle exception in our application? By using one method @exception handler method. Where this exception handler method available? Inside the controller. What will happen if I write this method inside the controller? It will become controller based handling. What is the meaning of controller based handling? It is applicable to only one controller. Can we test it? Can we take another controller? Can we see is it working or not? Yes. Let me create one more controller with a name called book controller. Let us create one class with a name called book controller. Right. So let me stop the server. Then represent this also as a controller. @controller annotation. I'm using @controller annotation. Let us write one method in the book controller. Public string book. Okay. Then I will return a page called index. Okay. I need to send the data to the UI. To send the data to the UI, what is required? Either model and view or model. So let me take model object as a parameter. I want to map it to the get request. How to map it to a get request? By using @get mapping. The URL pattern some book. Okay, book data. Method name is book data. URL pattern is book. Import the model. Okay, Spring model I need to import. Send some message. Model dot add attribute key comma value. Key is message. Value Java books not available. Something like this. A message I am giving. So if I send a request, it will work as expected. But let us do some problem. Integer I is equal to 10/0. Exception. Now, so when exception occurs in the message controller, exception handler is executed. But if exception occurs in the book controller, it will work or not? Let's try. It will work or not? Let's try. Okay. So clear this one. Application.java run as Java application. Yes. Now we are able to start our application. We are able to start our application. Clear the console. Right? Go to our project /greet message controller working as expected. No problem. /welcome exception occurred. Error page is coming. Then go to /book guys. 8080/book. What happened now? Error page is loaded or not loaded? Not loaded. Why? Exception handling not applicable for the book control. Exception handling applicable for only message control. So what is the concept? Controller based handling. What is the meaning of controller based handling? Applicable for particular controller. If you write the exception handler method in one controller, then it is applicable to only that controller. It is applicable to only that controller. But if you have 1,000 controllers in the project, if you have 1,000 controllers in the project, is it recommended or not recommended? In every controller, will you write the method like that? Is it recommended to write that method in 1,000 places? No. We need to write at one place. It should be applicable for all the classes in the project. Then we need to go for global exception handling. Are you able to see what is controller based exception handling now? What is the meaning of controller based exception handling? If you write the exception handler in one class that is applicable to only that control. But it is not recommended. We need to handle exceptions in all the controls. We need to go for global exception handling. We need to go for global exception. Are you clear with my point? Yes. How to implement global exception handling? To implement global exception handling, we need to create a separate class. We need to create a separate class. Observe. I'm going to take one new class. So this class I am keeping as dot exception. I'm keeping it as a dot exception. Class name app exception handler. You can give any name for that class. So what is the class I'm taking? App exception handler. Whatever the method you have in one controller now, take that method from the controller, remove it from the controller, keep it in the another class. Keep it in the another class. So this should work as a global handler, not controller specific. It should applicable for all the controllers available in the application. Now, to make it as a global exception handler, first one, take a logger, private logger. Logger is equal to logger factory dot get log. So app exception handler dot class. Whenever exception occurred, then it will come to this handler method. I want to log the exception by using logger dot error. So this is normal Java class. I want to represent this class as a global exception handler. To represent this class as a global exception handler, I'm going to use one annotation called controller advice. What is that, guys? Controller advice. So in the Spring Framework introduction, I explained one module called AOP. What is AOP? Aspect Oriented Program. What is the purpose of AOP? Cross-cutting logic. Exception handling required for every method. If you write that logic in every method, it is a problem. We need to separate the logic, primary logic and secondary logic. Exception handling is required for all the classes. Instead of writing that logic in every class, we need to separate from the classes. So our exception logic, normal logic, primary logic, secondary logic. We are separating primary logic and secondary logic by using controller advice. Controller advice is a AOP concept, aspect oriented program. I want to separate our business logic and secondary logic. My controller contains a business logic. Exception handling is a secondary logic. I don't want to combine both logics. That's why I am taking app exception handling. What is the purpose of this annotation? This annotation will represent this class as a global exception handler. It will act as a global exception handler. What is the meaning of global exception handler? Wherever exception occur in the project, this method is going to execute. Are you clear? No. Earlier, this method I have written inside one control. That is called controller based exception handler. Now I am writing this method inside the controller advice class. That will make our class as a global exception handler. What is the difference between controller based exception handling and global exception handling? Come on. What is the difference between global exception handling and controller exception handling?
Separation of concerns.
Controller handling means applicable for only one class. Global exception handling means applicable for all the classes. How to represent our class as a global exception handler? By using sir. Hello. Using mobile man. क्या करना है? हाँ. Right. So app exception handler is available. I want to represent this class as a global exception handler. So to represent our class as a global exception handler, we use one annotation that is called controller advanced. Is this clear? Good. When you come to the class, keep your mobile in the silent. Call is important or class is important. After class completion also you can call back. You are not a Narendra Modi or KCR or Revant Reddy to get the important calls. Right? Whoever is calling, they can wait for 1 hour. Yes or no? So if you miss the class, who will explain? Nobody. So your phone should be on silent for 1 hour. Whatever the call you are getting, after 1 hour you can call back. Yes, we can do that. Right? Yeah. So now first let us test it. Controller advice is working as expected or not. Control advice is working as expected or not. Okay. Now go to the application.java, go to the start class, run as Java application. Clear the console. Yes, it is done. Now go here, welcome. When I access welcome, it is in one controller. Error page is loaded. Go to greet, there is no problem. Index page is loaded. Go to book controller /book. Now what happened? Error page loaded or not? So is it applicable for both controllers? Yes, it is applicable for both controllers. So can I say it is acting as a global exception handler? It is acting as a global exception handler. Now, in our project, whatever the exception occur, it will go to this method. For example, I want to handle the different exceptions. I want to handle different exceptions. For example, I am getting null pointer exception. For null pointer exception, I want to display one page. For arithmetic exception, I want to display one page. Okay. For SQL exception, I want to display another page. Now, take this method. Yes, here handle NPE. NPE nothing but null pointer exception. NPE nothing but null pointer. Value is equal to null pointer exception. Then whenever null pointer exception occurred, then this method will execute. I have two methods now. First method, when the first method will execute, only when the null pointer exception occurred in the project. When the second method will execute, any other exception apart from null point. Any other exception apart from null point. Suppose whenever some database exception occurred, SQL exception occurred, handle SQL exception. Okay. Then I will write SQL exception. Then what is the meaning of the first method? In our project, whenever SQL exception occur, then first method will execute. When null pointer exception occur, then second method will execute. Okay. Whenever any other exception occurred, then third method is going to execute. Sir, I want to handle user-defined exceptions also in the project. I want to handle user-defined exception. How to create user-defined exception? New class, something like this, product not found exception. Product not found exception. This is a normal Java class. How to make it as an exception class? Extends from runtime exception. Extends from runtime exception. Then write the controller, constructor. A message I am taking. What is the reason for the message? Then I will call super of message. Okay. So this is called user-defined exception. This is called user-defined exception. Now, whenever this user-defined exception occurs, I want to execute one method. Then you can write one more method. So it is for product not found exception. Product not found exception. Here handle product exception. That's it. So for different exceptions, you can write different methods. If your exception method is not available, then it will go for the global exception method. If your exception method is not available, then only it will go for the global exception method. So in our project, if a product not found exception occurred, user defined exception occurred, then first method will execute. If SQL exception occurred, second method will execute. If null pointer exception occurred, third method. If there is other exception apart from this three, if any other exception occurred, then it is going to execute last. So for every exception, you can create a different method. And this is called as global exception handler. How we are calling it as a global exception handler? By using one annotation called controller advice. What is the benefit with this one? It is applicable for all the classes available in the project. So in how many ways we can handle exceptions in the Spring Web MVC? Two ways we can handle. What are the two ways? Controller based exception handling and global exception handling. What is the difference between these two? Controller based means applicable for only one class. Global means applicable for all the class. What is the annotation to handle the exception? Exception handle. What is the annotation? Exception handle. How to represent your class as a global handler? Controller advice. Is this clear? Good. Simple. Exception handling is very simple in the Spring Web MVC. Controller handling works for only particular class. Instead of saying controller based handling, we can say class based handling. Class based handling. Class based handling is applicable for the exceptions occurred only in that particular class. No. Class-based handling is applicable for the exceptions occurred only in that particular class. If you write this method in any class, then it will handle the exceptions belongs to only that class. Global handling is applicable for all the classes available in the project. Global exception handling is applicable for the classes available in the application. Okay. So to implement global handling, what is the annotation, guys? Controller advice. Okay. So I'm giving different methods here. When you have product not found exception, this method will exist. When you have null pointer exception, this method. When you have any other exception, this. Okay. To represent our class as a global exception handler, we will use controller advice annotation. To represent our class as global exception handler, we will use controller advice annotation. Okay. So here we have learned two annotations today. What are the two annotations we learned, guys? What are the two annotations we learned today? One is exception handler. Another one is controller advice. What is the purpose of exception handler? For which exception this method should be executed. For which exception you want to handle by using this method, which exception you want to handle, that you can specify by using exception handler. And the controller advice, it is used to specify. It is used to specify if the class is a global exception handler. Is this clear? Any questions? What is exception, guys? Unexpected, unwanted situation in the program execution is called as exception. When exception occurs, our program will be terminated abnormally. As a programmer, we need to handle that situation and we need to achieve graceful termination. So the process of handling the exception is called as exception handling. So in the Java, we have several keywords to handle the exceptions. What are those? Try, catch, throw, throws, final. In the WebMVC, we can handle the exceptions in two ways. One is class-based handling. Another one is global handling. What is the meaning of class-based handling? Applicable for only one class. So in that class, you write the method like this. So exception, any type of exception can be handled by this exception handling. Next one, global exception handling is applicable for all the classes available in the application. To represent our class as a global handler, we will use controller advice annotation. Controller advice annotation. So controller advice will represent our class as a global handler. Can we write different methods for different exceptions? Yes or no? For product not found exception, one method. For null pointer exception, one method. For global exception, one. Like this you can write. Yes. Able to understand exception handling in the web MVC? Yes or no? Yes. Good. Online people?
Yeah, I have one doubt.
Yes, tell me.
Yeah, for each method, do we need to like return only the error page, or for each method we have to write separate HTML page?
No,
to
one
return it?
error page is sufficient. Message you can send it dynamically.
Okay.
Okay. So whatever the message is sending, right? We have given a static message in the error page, right?
Yes.
This static message you can customize.
Okay. According to that method error, we can customize the method.
You can customize.
Okay.
PH colon text is equal to dollar of message. Yes. Now in your error controller, right? Controller advice class. Go to exception handler. Here you can take model object as a parameter and you can pass the model whatever you want, whatever the data that you want to send. Spring model I am taking, then I will use model dot add attribute key, which is a message, whatever the message, no product form. Like for this exception, you can take model and model dot add attribute. For different methods, different messages you can submit.
Okay.
Internal, some problem. Instead of giving a fixed message, you can give the message according to your requirement. So we are taking a model, we are editing the error page. Whatever the message you are setting, that message you can access in the error page.
Okay. Got it. Thanks.
So this global exception handler will
Yes.
be used for overall application, or it's only for the UI layer?
No, overall applications. This is applicable for all the classes available in the project. It can be any class. It can be a service class. It can be a repository. It can be util any class. Wherever exception occurred, it will go to global exception handler. It is applicable for entire application. Applicable for entire application Java classes exception. If any problem occurs in the UI, that is not considered. The exception which occurred in the Java classes, then it will go to that exception handler.
So, sir, throw catch, those are not required?
No, not required.
Sir, if the exception occurs, the backend will be down, or how it's not?
No, backend will not be down, sir. Server will not be stopped. Server will be up and running.
Okay.
Okay.
And also in the exception, global exception, we need to maintain the hierarchies. So parent has to be down.
No, it's not like this. Not required.
Not.
Okay.
You have handled these null pointer, SQL exception products, so do we need to define anything, or any exception it will catch?
Any exception. That's why I did one method global. Exception
Okay.
is a
Yeah.
super class for all the
Yeah.
exceptions.
Okay, sir.
If you get null pointer, then this method. If you get product not found, this. If you get any other exception, then this generic method.
So, sir, for validation messages, are we handling through the same method, or it's at same place, or
No.
different?
Validation is different. We will
Okay.
discuss.
Hello, Ashok.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, instead of mentioning all possible exception methods in a global class, so can we mention one method which will handle based on the error that thrown by application? For example, it could be arithmetic or null pointer.
No. Then
Okay.
you need to write a single method with the global.
Yeah, that's what, like a single method, and based on the output, like exception thrown. If for example, if for else conditions, and based on
Then you
that,
can write the conditions, sir. Conditions you can write like this. Then you need to remove all the methods. In this exception class, you need to go for if e instance of null pointer exception, then you can write the condition. Okay. Else if e instance of arithmetic. Okay, then you can write like this. So if you want to write one method to handle multiple exceptions, you write only one method which will execute for any type of exception. Then you write the logic according to that particular exception. If it is null pointer, e instance of. What is instance of? And check the type of the object. If the exception is null pointer, then this condition will execute. If it is arithmetic, this condition will execute. If it is some other exception, other condition. Like this, if you want to write one method to have multiple exceptions, then this is the logic you need to use. If you want a separate method for every exception, this is the approach you can. It depends on the requirement, we can change.
So this exception method can be in any order, right?
Yes, it can be in any order.
So I can write the first method as the exception class, and then I can write for
Methods
the
order is not important. Method order can be in any way. Order you need to follow when you are writing multiple catch.
Okay.
Is it mandatory to write, exception handler for all the controller methods, or how it
No,
would
you
be
need
like
if you
a standard
you need to
practice?
write standard practice. For every method you can write.
We should not use like a try catch block, sir, in the code to handle the exceptions.
You can write the try catch block also, sir. If you want to handle the try catch block, in that catch block you need to throw the exception.
Okay, sir. Again, we need to read through the exception.
If you write the try catch block, so it will go here and you will come to the catch block.
Where we need to read through.
You need to rethrow the exception. Throw new exceptions.
Sir, this SLF4G. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. For SLF4G, we need to add any log4j dependency or not needed, sir, actually?
By default, it will come, sir. You don't need to add anything. When you create the Spring Boot application, by default, logback SLF4J will be available.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Sir, how to write the custom exception here? Let's think that from
this is a custom exception.
Okay. Let's think that from database we are getting some exception. You
can create the custom exception. Whenever you get some problem, you can throw this exception in the catch. You can throw the exception in the catch. You can create your own exception and you can throw that.
Yeah, can you please explain, please, one time?
You can create one more controller, something like this, product controller. I'm taking this class as controller. Take one method, public string, get product, get the rate, get mapping, / product. Okay, here I'm taking integer product ID. I will take this product ID as a request param. Product ID. If PID is equal to 1, then no problem. Else, then I will throw new product not found exception. Close record. Like this.
Thank you, sir.
When you want to deal with the user-defined exceptions, this is the approach you can follow. I have created one class with a name called product controller. Okay. I will be returning next page. And here I will take model dot add attribute message product name. Yeah. Now you see this one. I have taken one class with a name called product controller. Product controller is having one get request method with the URL method /product. Now you are going to send a request with the request para. What is the meaning of request para? Query parameter. ID we are going to send in the URL by using question mark product question mark PID is equal to some value. If ID is equal to 1, then I will return this value. I will return index page. If pass any different ID, then what I am doing? Throw user defined exception. I'm throwing user defined exception. For this user defined exception, handler is available. Product not found exception. Whenever product not found exception occurred, this method is going to exit. What this method is going to send a message? No product in the error. Now run this application. So this is basically user defined exception handling, guys. So this book controller 10/0 arithmetic exception. Then message controller. This is arithmetic exception. But product controller with the given product ID. If ID is equal to 1, then no problem. If ID is not 1, then I am throwing a user defined exception. For the user defined exception also, there is a handler method is available. Now go here, /book. There is a problem. Getting some problem occurred. /greet. There is no problem. It is coming. /welcome. There is a problem. Then go to product. Localhost : 8080/product ? PID is equal to 1. Then what is coming now? Product name Apple is coming. If I give PID is equal to 2, no product. So this is a user defined exception. So based on the requirement, you can handle predefined exceptions and you can handle user defined exceptions also. Look at this method. Product controller, I am checking a condition with the product ID. Product ID is a query parameter. If ID is equal to 1, then no problem. If ID is not 1, then I am throwing user defined exception. For user defined exception also, there is a handler method is available.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So if we do not give method to handle user-defined exception,
Then
will
it
it be
will go to the
handled by exception?
Yes, it will go to the generic.
Yeah. Okay.
If you don't have the method to handle user-defined exception, then what will happen? If this method is not available, my controller is throwing product not found exception. For example, in the handler, there is no method available to handle product not found. I commented this code. Then what will happen? This method will exist because it is going to take care of all the exceptions. First, it will check for your exception method is available. If it is available, it will execute. For your exception, if there is no handler method, then it will go to the generic method, which is in super class for all the exceptions. How to handle user-defined exceptions? First, we need to create the exception class. Create one user-defined exception class. Create user-defined exception class like below. So I'm creating one class with a name called product not found exception. Okay, product not found exception I create. Then create exception handler method in controller advice class. What is the meaning of controller advice class? It is a global handler. So here, this is the method which is going to deal with the product not found exception. This is my exception class and this is my handler method. This is for only product not found exception. Create a controller. Create controller method to throw user-defined exception based on some scenario. Taking product ID as a query parameter. If ID is 1, no problem. If ID is not 1, then throw product not found exception. So when I'm throwing the product not found exception, it will check. Is there any method available to handle product not found exception? Yes, method is available. That method will execute. That method will return error page with some message. Suppose if this method is not available, then it will check for the method which can handle any type of exception. First preference will be given to your exception. If the method is available, it will execute. If the method is not available to handle your exception, then it will check for the generic exception. Able to follow this? Good. Now, so we are able to understand how to handle exceptions in the Spring Web MVC. In two ways we can handle. One is class-based handling. Second one is global handling. Class-based handling is applicable for exceptions occurred only in the particular class. For that, what is the annotation? @exception handle. Global means for all the classes. How to represent it as a global handler? By using controller methods. So what methods you can write? For every exception you can write one method. You can write only a single method also with the type as an exception. What is this exception? Super class for all the exceptions. How to handle user-defined exceptions? You first create one exception class by extending the properties from runtime exception. Then you create one handler method to handle your user-defined exception. Then based on the situation, you throw the user-defined exception. Now in my product controller, I'm throwing the exception. If ID is equal to 1, no problem. If ID is not 1, then it will throw the exception. How we are taking ID as the input? Request parameter. What is the purpose of request parameter? To read the value from the URL. Query parameter, key comma value. Got it. Fine. So with this, we understood exception handling in Spring Web MVC. Same concept. Again, we are going to learn in the REST API. REST API also will get an exception, right? So how to handle exceptions in the REST API? Again, we are going to learn controller advice, class-based handling, global handling. But at that time, here we are giving @controller advice. In future, I'm going to give REST controller advice. That is the difference. For web application, controller advice. For REST API, REST controller advice. Okay. Mostly next week we will start with our REST API development. REST controller advice we are having. Good. Offline people, any questions on this? When you go for model as a parameter, add attribute. When you go for model and view, add object. So based on the concept we are using, method name is changed. Both are used to send the data from controller to UI in the form of key and value. So if you take model and view, add object is the. If you take only model, add attribute is the. Log message, yes. Error message. So many, 100, more than 100 also. But custom exceptions we can create. So whenever I send a request, PID error page, log message, yes. This is the log message that we are going to get. Logger.error, no record found. This is the log message we are getting. Whenever exception occurs, we need to generate the logs. The log message will be available like this.
So this log message we can set with the model and we can print.
Yes. Generally, log messages will send to the log file. Log message will send to the log file. So in the logging class, I explained what is logging, logger, layout, appender, file-based logging, console-based logging, role-based logging, size-based, time-based, log monitoring. Log4j already completed. Okay. Tomorrow, we are going to learn how to work with embedded databases in the web application. As of now, we are using embedded server. What is the meaning of embedded server? What is the meaning of embedded server here, guys?
Already available
Okay.
server.
Ready-made servers are available. When we are working with the boot application, you no need to download and install the server to run our application. Similarly, you no need to install the database also. Spring Boot can provide the database also for you. That is called embedded database, H2. So we can use H2. Suppose in your system, in your laptop, database is not installed, but you want to learn the database operation. You want to perform the card operation. So then you can work with embedded databases concept. Spring Boot will support for embedded database also, that is H2. So in the tomorrow session, we are going to see how to work with H2 database in the Spring. Okay. Now, can you tell me what are the annotations we have used in the Spring Web MVC as of now? What are the annotations we have used in the Spring Web MVC as of now?
Controller.
We used controller. We used
Get mapping.
get mapping, and we used
Post
Mapping.
mapping.
post mapping. We used request para. We used request para, and we used
controller advice.
we used
Controller
at the rate
advice,
Exception
exception
handler.
Can handle controller advice.
we used at the rate controller. You need to remember, guys, because tomorrow when you attend a interview, they will ask a question. Can you tell me some annotations which you know in the Spring Web MVC? So the annotation names you need to remember and what is the purpose. I will ask you a question. What are the annotations you used in the data JPA? What are the annotations you used in the Spring Boot? Okay. What are the annotations in the Web MVC? What are the annotations in the REST API? What are the annotations in the microservices? Spring Boot is completely annotation based. Am I writing any XML file? Only form.xml is there. Form.xml not related to Spring Boot. That is a Maven project. That is a Maven XML. In the Spring Boot, no XML. Everything is annotation based configuration. Okay. So that's why you need to remember these annotations clearly. What is the annotation? When to use it? What is the purpose of it? Okay. So what is the purpose of controller? To represent our Java class as a controller class. It is going to represent our class as a Spring Boot. How many objects will be created for a single controller class? Every time one object or only one object? Only one object. Why they are creating only one object? Singleton. Default scope is a singleton. If I make a controller as a product, every time new object will be created, then what is the problem? Memory will be wasted. Okay. What is the purpose of get mapping? What is the purpose of get mapping? Get mapping is used to map our method to HTTP get request. When to use get request? When you want to fetch the data. When you want to fetch the data from the server, then you will go for get mapping method. Then what is the post mapping? When you want to send a request to the server, then you will go for the post mapping. What is the request param? To read the data from the URL. Query parameter, if you want to read, then you will go for request param. Key and value. What is the exception handler? To write a method which is going to handle our exception. When to go for controller advice? If you want to implement global exception handler, then you will go for the controller. What annotations we have learned from the data JPA? What annotations we learned in the data JPA? At the rate of entity, at the rate of table, at the rate of ID,
Repository.
at the rate of generated value. at the rate of generated value, at the rate of column, at the rate of creation timestamp, the rate of creation timestamp, at the rate of date timestamp, at the rate of query. What's the
poetry
purpose
also.
of entity? To make our Java class as the entity class. Map our Java class with the database table. What is the purpose of at the rate table? Map our class name with the table. What is the purpose of at the rate ID?
Primary
To
key.
represent our variable as a primary key column mapped to table. Then generated value. Populate the value for primary. What is at the rate column? Map the variable name with the column.
Column name.
Creation timestamp. Then the record is inserted, populate the created. What is update timestamp? When the record is
Last update.
what is the purpose of at the rate query?
To write the custom
To
query.
write the custom queries. Custom queries you can write in two ways. Native SQL, HQL. What is the difference between native SQL and HQL? Native SQL is a database independent. HQL is a database independent. Do you convert SQL query to SQL? Direct the class. Can I execute HQL in the database directly? No. HQL query should be converted to SQL.
SQL.
Do you convert HQL to SQL?
Direct.
You need
At the
to
rate poetry also you missed that one.
at the rate repository, it is string annotation. Not in the, it is not a data GPA annotation. It comes under string annotation. Okay. Good. Fine, guys. So please practice this and make sure you are able to develop the project which I have completed. This architecture diagram completed? No. Okay, I will check it now. Kindly not working. Yeah, now I will come to the lab. Show me your lab. So this is the project that you need to complete and you need to implement exception handling also. Tomorrow we will work with embedded databases concept. Okay, thank you guys.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, what is the difference between API, REST API, RESTful web services, microservices? All are same, sir. Hello.
Same. REST API, microservice, web service.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, hi, sir. For in data JPA, we will write the repository, no, sir.
Yeah.
Extends JPA repository. For that class, we no need to keep @ repository annotation, sir.
It is optional. It is optional.
Okay.
Because when you extend the properties from the JPA repository, right? Writing at the rate repository is optional. You don't need to write.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Sir, another doubt. Yesterday, what I did is I forgot to keep @ controller annotation, and I in get mapping I gave like only slash. Then it is working without giving @ controller also. So why it is working, sir?
It will not work. I need to see the code. Definitely it will not work. Without giving
No,
the
sir. It
controller,
only for only slash homepage. It is giving. It is working without even I didn't give @ controller.
okay, maybe it is not going to the controller. If your page name is index, then by default index HTML will be loaded.
Okay.
Change the page name and it will not work.
Yes,
Index
yes,
is
yes.
a
Index only, sir.
yes. If it is index, controller method is not required for the welcome page. It will consider that as a welcome page. Basically.
Okay.
For welcome page, controller method is not required.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Sir, API, REST API, RESTful web services, microservices, all are same, sir.
All are same, sir. In the next week, you will understand them. Next week, we are going to learn about.
And one more question, sir. Earlier you create service layer as a class, but right now you are creating service interface and implementation class.
Loosely
So,
coupling. For loosely coupling.
okay.
For loosely coupling, we will do.
And when control in controller layer, where when you inject the service object by
Yes.
using auto add, then service each interface, then who is created the object for the service layer, sir? Service interface.
Service interface I am injecting means IMPL object will be injected to the controller. IOC container will inject the implementation class object. In
It will take
auto-wiring,
okay. It will take implementation service implementation class, no, sir.
right.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.
Sir, DDL,
Yeah, Yamuna, tell me.
yeah, DDL auto equal to update we will give now, sir. If
Yes,
we give create, other options are there now.
I will
What will
explain.
happen?
I will explain.
Okay.
If you
Okay,
give
thank
create, na, every time it will delete the table and it will create.
Okay. So in auto wiring concept, I gave above the constructor, I gave auto wiring, sir. And
It is optional. It is optional.
yeah, yes. It is optional, and I gave qualifier also, sir. I two objects I am going to inject, and it is showing error, sir. If
Yeah,
I
two
give
objects you can't.
qualifier.
Yeah, you can't give the two objects. You can inject only one object at it.
Qualifier we should not use above the constructor, sir.
No, it's not required.
Sir, will you talk on @lazy annotation?
Sure, sir. Yes, we'll talk on.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, guys.